Lovely morning, isn't it? Happy holidays, everyone. I'm looking for the book of the month. I was reading it, and I seem to have misplaced it. So I apologize. Whoops. Gotta, gotta turn that off. Gotta turn that off. I had the other stream running. Um, wow, I really want to show the book. I think I had it in bed. I was reading it. I will try to put it up. We have a really great book we're reading. How is everybody? Well, winter is coming in Ukraine again. And they don't want us to forget them in Ukraine. So we want them to be able to have a Merry Christmas, which is pretty difficult when you're being terrorized by a psychopath. But so we did put the Google-sponsored Ukraine fundraiser up again so that if you would like to make sure they have warm meals for the winter in Ukraine, that is up for you. How are you all? How are you all? Is everybody good? Did everybody have a great week? Yeah? You rested? You worked hard? Not so much. Took care of the animals, probably, right? Took care of the cats and dogs. What about deep cleaning the kitchen? How many times we put that off? A couple times a year you want to do that. You want to do a deep clean of your kitchen because there's something called like they've talked about like the home that is emptied of money simply because people don't know all the ways that the money is siphoning out. But the kitchen is a main area where food rot. 1/3 of American food is thrown in the trash, which means that 1/3 of your budget, like say you put $4,000 a year to food, you burned 1/3 of that. So that's like $1,000 or $1,500 or however much you could have spent. So it's just something that if you really want to save money, you can do like a deep clean of your kitchens, they say. Let me go ahead and say hi to everybody. Hello, Melody Hartman. Thank you for being here. Hi, Kate Travel. Good to see you. I guess we might be hanging out later if you're up to it. LC is here. Hello. Let's see. Joel Tilson, our floor director, is here. He's in Cheyenne, Wyoming. He's an amazing cook. Good to see him here. Hi, Ann Dillon. Great to see you. Sarah Roberts and Joanne Hall are in the house. Vancouver Island. That sounds absolutely beautiful. Hello, Jiggy Pardo Lord. Joanne Hall. I think I said hi. Let's see who else. Desiree Robato, always a loyal person. Always good to see. LC, of course. Paula Faust. Thank you so much for being a member. Thank you to all of you who have, I know these are hard times, who choose to become members of the channel. It does help. And thank you everyone who's been checking out the merch designed by the creative director and incredible talent manager, Debbie Brady. And she's a brand visionary. If you need any help developing your brand, she's extremely disciplined and hardworking, and she will give you what you want. So check out her cool stuff. So I think what we should do is do the Empath's prayer. What do you folks think? Yeah. And then maybe have a little conversation about what's going on in the world. Maybe do a community reading after that. And we'll do the Empath's prayer. We'll do a community reading. And then after that, do some blintzes and have a good hour together. What do you say? Does that work for you folks? Is that a good brunch? I think it's a good brunch. What are you going to have for breakfast? What are you going to have for brunch? I'm just having coffee. It takes me a while for my stomach to wake up. I like to get together with friends for brunch, but I often don't have a big appetite. Yeah. I'm usually the kid that usually drinks at the brunch. I drink like the coffee and the orange juice and nibble on a couple things. I'm really just there to hang out with my friends. My main meal is usually like 2, 3 PM is when I start to get really hungry. Like, I can fast and maybe just have a smoothie, but then around 3 o'clock is when I'm like, "Okay, this is my main meal." Is which I guess in Ayurvedic, that's about right. When you wanna think about when your digestive fire is strongest. And now scientists are saying they might have gotten it wrong about breakfast in the morning because if you're eating food when your digestive fire isn't awake, it can cause upset stomach, so they don't want you to eat when you're not hungry. So many people will just have a cup of tea or in China, hot water. They will just have straight hot water just to wake up and wash the stomach. And, I think that's a really cool idea to just wash the stomach with hot water just to wake it up and, um, and then go about your day, and then slowly your stomach warms up, and then when it says, "Okay, now I'm ready to eat," you've done a little activities for a few hours, you washed me with some tea or warm water. I mean, this is so no wonder they don't get nausea in the morning. And then, you would have your meal and, maybe have a nap or a little rest, and then you would go back to your work, and then you would have maybe an evening meal. So they only had also, if you look at monastic life, they only had 2 meals. Simple living, healthy digesting. So when you're thinking about, like, Ayurvedics, a lot of these diets were developed by monks in monastery. So, I would imagine the monks were experimenting on each other, like, Shiva has a stomach ache, let me try this herb. Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, let's do the empath's prayer. What do you say? Sound good? Sounds like you guys are having grits and boiled eggs. Who's that? Can I come to your house? I love Southern food, but boy, it's filled with calories because of the agrarian society. People had to load up. They were hauling, the dirt farmers, right? So you had to pack them with a ton of calories because they were burning. I mean, they were plowing with animals in the field. Can you imagine how many calories they consumed? Crazy. Yeah. All right, let's do the empath's prayer. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together, collectively, we say, Amen. Okay, so, yeah, what do you guys want to talk about? So it was weird, people I did a remote view. A lot of people, I want to talk a little bit about, I just, people wind up here and they don't know what's happening. They don't get it. They don't understand who you are. They don't understand who I am. You guys have known me for 5 years. You've seen when I succeed, when I fail at a remote view, etc. We go back and we'll do postmortems even, right? Like, why did I screw up, right? But heart-centered remote viewing, HCRV is also called heart-centered remote viewing. It is a secular technique. It's a secular technique. And what it is it's a theory. When you think about it, it's kind of, oh, congratulations, Kim. Yeah, everyone who did public service he took my public service and wiped out. But people got mad at me, but people don't understand how hard I worked after medical school and the conditions I lived in on a suppressed salary in public health. I did that for 7 years with a hot plate and no oven, working public health. And was told I was not going to get forgiven after, how many millions of patients, right? So, he's just doing what the law says. He's just following the law. I think that people don't understand that about Biden. He's just following the law, which is if we do our public, it's like you can't block after you promise. These people would not have taken out 200,000 in student loan debt if they had known you were going to renege on your promise. So that's what was actually happening. So I think it's just a relations nightmare, because I think people don't understand why the doctors are in this situation, yeah. Okay, so back to the situation of heart-centered remote viewing. So, which is what HCRV stands for. It's a secular technique where through the meditative state, you try to tune in and you try to tune in so much to the other individual that for all intents and purposes, you become them. You know what it is to walk in their shoes. You know what it is to be them. It's a kind of, one of my students, when they graduated, wrote me a little note thanking me for, said something about the Vulcan mind meld. I don't know which one of you that was, but I thought that was very funny. In a way, yeah. So when you really sit as Donald Trump, you're no longer observing him with your own personal opinion. Well, I think you're a piece of whatever. No, you really, I want to know what it is to be you. And when I put myself in that headspace using HCRV, I was sitting there and this vision swam, and I was in a courtroom. And when I looked over this way, I saw a judge, and he was male. Now, forgive me if I have not been keeping up with the news. My country's at war, right? So I'm not I've heard that he's in court. He's always in court. And I heard it was something about New York. But to be honest with you, he's not really on my radar right now. I didn't even know who the judges were. So, but it was a male judge. I looked up and I saw a male judge when I was Trump, and I felt like he had taken me so low. I had sunk so low, and God, I was the freaking president of the United States, man. Look at how you're talking to me. I was the freaking president of the United States. If I ever get into office again, I'm going to have my people take you out and execute you. That was where my head went. Now, is that really what he's thinking? Is this really happening? Am I just projecting? Sometimes. So in HCRV, you really want to, one of the things we talk about, like, where is this concept of the rabbit hole, right? It's why one of the symbols on the show is the rabbit, right? Because we enter into imagination, and then we try to figure out where imagination and reality meet, right? And it becomes this really bizarro world of whimsy, right? Of imagination and possibility. And this is not real until it is, or it becomes oddly weird, right? Like the time I was asked to be Ivanka, and I was Ivanka. And then I found myself sitting on my bed, and I had to tell my husband Kushner about the illegal dealings I had done with my father and the Trump organization, and my signatures were all over the documents, which is why Michael Cohen called, and he told me to cooperate with the feds. And then I had to go and tell my husband, who I had lied to initially. And then when he saw the proof with my signatures, he started yelling at me and telling me that his kids were not going to wind up with a parent in prison. And then he contacted his attorney, and then I had to turn state's evidence over to the feds. That's oh my God. Now here's where we find ourselves. So, real or imagined? I'll let you decide, right? Human beings, when placed in a stressful situation, only have a limited amount of decisions that they can make. And so when you put yourself in the situation where you know the stressors of that individual and you know what it is to be him, you have a rough idea of what choices he's going to make. You're no longer projecting, because the purpose of HCRV is to become them. It's not, you're trying not to project. You're trying to, damn it, I know what it is to be in that courtroom. I know what it is to be the president of the United States and to be treated so good and have all this power. And now I'm stuck in a freaking courtroom in New York with some punk popping off to me. That's how I felt. And I also felt that he was getting dangerously to the point of incarceration. That this is, if he cannot get control of himself, that his power struggle with this guy, because they're involved in a power struggle right now. You're not going to tell me what to do. I was a former, there's this thing going on when I get into this head space. He's going to get locked up. If he, I haven't gone down and been him since that time, but he's cruising for a bruising. I mean, this guy's going to go to jail. I mean, they're going to lock this guy up if he cannot stop. I Googled it afterwards because I wanted to know what was going on. And evidently he threatened the guy's wife or something. I mean, it's really, yeah. So we shall see. But a couple of you asked me to clarify. He's already been charged. No, I think that if he continues this crazy, that the judge is in a position of power of locking this guy up, and you're threatening to kill his wife. So I think he is. And the gag orders and everything else. I think that if he doesn't give up this power trip he's on with this judge, he's going to go to jail, because that's what it is. It's a power trip. I feel I'm on a power trip. I put people on the bench. I was the freaking president. And who the hell is this punk? That's how it feels. It's very bizarre. It's a very bizarre mindset. It's I mean, he's crazy. I can't believe somebody that crazy became our president, but that's the situation, right? So, what can we all learn from this? Being vengeful will ruin your life, right? If you only live, now that woman on The View who used to work for Trump said the same thing. This guy is a threat. He's, now other people are starting to talk, because how remote viewing works is we will usually give the information a couple of weeks or months prior to it becoming public information, because people don't always share their private thoughts, right? So the fun thing about remote viewing and the fun thing about this show is it's a type of, it's mentalism, right? We're mentalists, right? People who do HCRV are mentalists, right? They're trying to mentally get into the head of somebody else, right? Which is a technique that was developed during time of war. This is why the Bon people of Tibet, they used oracles, or they used people that would use, this technique comes from Tibet. This is Tantra, but it's a modern version of, it's a secular version of the same technique. You get into an altered state, you connect with the vibration of the other person, you become one with their vibration. It doesn't go on forever. It's a extremely high energy to be able to do this. You get the information from the other person, you cut the cord, and you release. So it's a 5-step technique, and it never deviates, whether you're, no matter where and all over the world, people use some version of this, right? So that's the technique we're using. So when people say too much talk and not enough tarot cards, it's from people who don't know this show, and that people are asking me what my impressions were when I went down into an altered state as a remote viewer. Sometimes it's my own opinion or my assessment because I was in that situation. B-O-N. Tantra. Bon is pre-Buddhist. Buddhist came into Tibet. It was a religion that came from another place. And you had witches. You had Bon people. They were smoking marijuana. This is where marijuana, it was being used in trance states. They were drying it into bricks and they were burning it in their smokehouses. And they were trancing and they were spying on people and they were doing HCRV. And then Tibet fell to Buddhism. And so there became this battle between Bon, these psychic witches who were working with entities, some of which didn't even have physical bodies. Some of their teachers were not even human. And said, you can't stay in Tibet under Buddhist teachings and continue to practice this witchery. And they said, well, we like the entities we've been working with. We like the Oracle of Whimsy. We like these oracles, these entities. And they said, well, they can't stay in Tibet because they don't follow the rules. They do whatever the hell they want. And so some of the oracle worship was exiled. It survived in parts of Tibet, the devas, etc. But they were basically, the worship was cast out of Tibet. Some oracles, some Bon practitioners who were following certain deities did choose to become Buddhist, and their deities were adopted into the Tibetan culture. Yeah. Yeah, but that's where HCRV comes from. That's what we're doing. And I'm not a Tibetan Buddhist. I've studied Buddhism. I chant. I have done, I am a member of SGI. But I'm not, so it's just from an anthropological perspective I've studied. All right, let's do the community prayer. Would you all like to have a reading for your week? Message from Spirit about what's going on with you? Would you like that? Anything specific you all want me to be working on for you today in the community read that I didn't cover last week? Get a drink of my coffee while you guys send in your requests for the community read. This coffee, oh my gosh, this is the Cafe d'Art that my benefactor 1111 paid for. It's probably one of the best coffees I've ever had in my life. It's like I've had one, well, I think I've only had, well, no, I had 2 cups. This is my 2nd cup. But it's such an amazing food. I mean, it tastes so good. The next HCRV class, next week, we're doing Introduction to Tarot Readings using my technique. So that'll be Wednesday at 6 p.m. It's Introduction to the Tarot with Whimsy. And then after we complete that, I go on hiatus. I'll be in Israel for 3 weeks serving. And then when I come back, we will start HCRV class. But we alternate it. We do 10-week HCRV, and then we do several weeks of Introduction to the Tarot, and then we just keep cycling. It's up to you, folks. Do you want to channel energy for anxiety, Yolanda? Because if you're looking at HCRV, the first thing we do is we get you to relax, right? I have a lot of students here today, so we get you to take a deep breath in. And the first thing, if you're we're trying to get you to alpha brain waves, right? Theta brain waves. My students are probably feeling really cocky right now. We know all about this because we went. Yeah, so the research seemed on psychic phenomenon. Yes, there's real data. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Real scientists doing this, but there appears to be some communication or ability. We're fascinated with the alpha and theta states, scientists, but neurologists, scientists that study the brain. I'm a scientist that studies the brain. So it's these altered states that we're pretty sure this stuff is, the alpha brainwave and theta brainwave studies that were done. Zen is coming out of Japan. It's a monastic form. It's I think they're mostly vegetarians. And I'm so glad HCRV has helped your anxiety. Yeah. So we get you in a relaxed state. An alpha state is the same state you're going to get into if you take TM, transcendental meditation, which is another thing we recommend for anxiety. If you're having trouble getting into the alpha state, you can buy an alpha stim, which is an electromagnetic machine. And some psychics do use that who are learning how to do HCRV because they're having trouble getting into the altered state. So I will tell them to buy a stem, electro stim, to get them into alpha, because they're not, look, I get it. I had to use an alpha stim for 2 years prior to me going without alpha stim as a remote viewer. You know, some people want to get Neuralink to do this, the new Neuralink, which is connected to your computer so that you can theoretically amplify, right? So the future is now, right? All right, let's see what's going on. I think I'm going to be very safe. I think the war is going to wind down because Hamas is surrendering the last couple days. What is in your life? Oh, hi, Jennifer. Good to see you here. I will get everybody's certificates out tonight. I'm just, I know a lot of you have requested certification. I'll get your HCRV certificates out. I haven't gotten them out yet. That's true, Debbie. Debbie was saying, the creative consultant, that if you can get yourself down to an alpha state twice a day is what doctors recommend, like meditating twice a day. It can do a lot for overall health. There's been some great studies that have been paid for by the people who do transcendental meditation. All right, so the main thing that we're picking up on is that the economy right now is very, very topsy-turvy, and a lot of people are blaming Biden for this. You know, if you're looking at what's going on politically, a lot of people think that the situation we're in right now is Biden. Maybe he should have worked more with Xi. Maybe but I try to hear everybody. You know, it's very important that we hear everybody, even people that we don't agree with. But I can tell you that for most of us, there's just this overriding feeling of being scared about changes that are happening in the world right now. This is a Two of Pentacles as the base card for all of us. So it's a feeling of like, whoa, the boat is rocking, right? The boat is rocking. So if the boat is rocking, if that's how people are feeling, what do we got to do to make people feel safe, right? So that's the bottom line. We are all feeling this, right? We are all feeling this. So how do we come out of it? I feel that things are starting to change for us. I feel that we went through a very violent, traumatic period, and it was so horrifying for all of us the last few years that it has forced us to use parts of our brain to come up with solutions and intelligence we never thought we had, right? Some of us do our best work when we're under high stress, right? We pull the answers out of ourselves, right? So the karma card is the Ace of Cups, and that is the wedding cup. It's love, it's good times. So as long as you're doing what you can to take care of yourself financially, making sure you're catching everything that's bleeding from your budget, go in and look at your budget. You're going to be fine during these topsy-turvy times. But it is a feeling of like, whoa, are we going into war? This craziness. The Ace of Cups coming in as a base card tells me that we are about to experience a lot of grace. A lot of grace is coming to the planet. People can become cynical. I went through a really dark period that went on for a couple of years. And some of my friends went through the same dark period, just angry and cynical. And when you get like that, when you become angry and cynical, nobody wants to be around you. And you're angry and cynical because nobody wants to be around you. And so it becomes this revolving door, right? And how do you break free of this angry, cynical person that's just sitting pissed off at the world? And so anytime anybody approaches, they're just, Four of Cups is when a person is so stubborn, they're turning everybody down. They just want to sit and mope. They want to sit and not necessarily be available for anything. The crossing card, 10 of Wands, is to pack up and move to a new location. It's also to carry the heavy load. I just feel like the weather is bad. The weather is coming. It's harsh. The war is on the horizon. Uh, you know, very much pulling back, feeling like a heavy load is on us. And then what is above us? The winds of war. That, by the way, that's warring of the weather too. Heavy winds, right? It's a wind card. So what you sit in, what's below, the truth, Archangel Michael comes to you. So I would say you're somebody who's very much wanting the truth in your life. You know, it's something you sit in. They say seek balance in your life. The Temperance card is coming to you. So try to live your life in balance at this time during these crazy times. Some of you are going to be buying a new house, and some of you are going to be repairing homes. But seventh house is Three of Pentacles, which can be architecture, homes, construction of homes, possibly purchasing or expanding homes. Do not give energy to people who are trying to sabotage you. Instead, just tune them out. The best thing you can do for abusive people is to tune them out and to just go about your life. Don't feed your critics. Okay? Don't feed your critics right now. Your hope and your fear right now, the money man, tall, dark, and good looking. They say you're going to be okay. Much success for many of you over the next 6 months, particularly if you are wishing to establish a stable home, purchase a home. I see many of you getting a brand new job. There's a new employment over the horizon. And many of you will be very successful in the creative arts in the coming 6 months. You can see here establishing new home and new financial stability for many of you. Your critics taking the swords away, right? The hopes and the fears, education and conflicts potentially with others. Final outcome over the next 6 months, focus on your creative and your artistic drive, and you'll be quite successful. Focus on, trust yourself, trust your gut, trust your vision. Be wary of falling into cynicism, because the Four of Cups can't grow, folks. You can't grow if you're going to be like, I hate everybody. All men are garbage. All women are garbage. I hate everybody. You're going to be like that. You know, enjoy yourself. I did that for what, 10 years after my divorce? Right? I hate everybody. You know, I guess it's cool if that's what. But eventually it gets to be old, and eventually, you know, there are people worth loving and trusting, and that's not a life worth living. Four of Cups is not a life worth living. Everybody is not a jerk, you know. Go find someone safe to love. I mean, I think that's the takeaway, right? All right, that is your reading, my friends. I hope you gained benefit from it, as I enjoy giving the reading to you. Anybody planning on doing anything fun for Sunday? Thank you, everyone, by the way, who's donating to our charity to help feed and take care of the people in Ukraine. I very much appreciate that. They are headed towards winter in Ukraine, Christmas in Ukraine, and it's not good. So we want to support them. Well, without further ado, if you folks give me the order and you have some questions for me, we can do some blitzes. Oh, you're watching football? What's going on with football? Israel's at trouble with its neighbors. Only Hamas. We're not at war with any neighbors except Hamas. Well, Lebanon, because, yeah, Lebanon now. Well, West Bank. The Houthi, but the Houthi are not our Houthi and Iran are not our neighbors. That's why I don't think of it. Oh, thank you, Buddha Lion. You're very sweet. Oh, really, Villa Verde? Jamaica's been having a bunch of earthquakes. Wow. Did I get the order for the Blitz, Blitz, Blitz? Oh, who's having a birthday tomorrow? Oh, lion's mane mushroom. Yeah, it's very good for the brain. There's been some studies on that too. It helps with neural growth. There's a hole in the sun. Yes, I heard about that. All right. Oh, I got a Blitz order. Did I get a Blitz, Blitz, Blitz away? Oh, thank you, my loves, for those generous donations to World Food. We appreciate you. Okay, I think I got the Blitz, Blitz, Blitz away order. Let's see here. Jamaica man. Jamaica say you will. Okay, the earthquake situation in Jamaica. It's possible that the situation could be such that there may be some evacuations, Villa Verde, unfortunately, because you have the Six of Swords, which is moving away from a rocky situation and it's onto the water. And that's the problem. When you have a situation like people may feel like they have to run out into the water, which is what happened in Lahaina when you had that massive fire. And so this is a feeling like people may be driven from their homes or something. This is the scariest thing when you look at research scientists about what is most likely to destroy the planet. Like, why do we have to colonize Mars or somewhere else? It's because there's no way to stop a mega volcano. And so we have geologists mapping all of the mega volcanoes, right? So if one goes off, that's the end of life. And it only has to happen once. So scientists are now having conversations. What do we do about this? You know, if Mount Rushmore goes, the entire world, nothing will survive except for maybe anaerobic life or primitive life forms. And then the earth will start again, right? The evolutionary cycle will begin again, right? Because you'll still have some life forms anaerobic and primitive, but it could take us all out. So if you're looking at that data, you're not going to be in denial. You're going to be freaking out and saying, "Oh, we got to do something." And you're like, can we stop a mega volcano? No, we probably. Well, then we need to get the hell out of here, or we need to find a way. We need to find an escape route. We cannot assume that this earth is not going to be blown up, be destroyed. Well, why can't we just go to the moon? Because the moon orbits the earth. So theoretically, right? So we've got a problem there too. So a lot of scientists are saying it's not self-indulgent to look at colonizing other places. It's objective reality when you look at where we will most likely land up if these mega volcanoes go off. So it's another thing to freak out about, right? But let the scientists deal with the asteroids that are going to hit us. So that's what's going on. But it's nothing that I can personally control. So why get upset about it? But so you have this kind of issue, and you also have a wheel of fortune over volcanoes. So it's a ticking time bomb, right? That's what the scientists are saying. It's a ticking time bomb. Every time these volcanoes do this, particularly the mega volcanoes, you've got scientists because they know if this thing if we have a massive eruption here, we're looking at some serious fatalities. So I don't see a massive problem right now, Villa Verde. Instead, it's just an awareness here of a ticking time bomb. Four of Wands would indicate a new beginning in terms of research. Does anybody know of anything that scientists could do to stop a mega volcano? Like nothing, right? There's really nothing we can do. They're looking at plugging, right? But how would that even work? How would you plug a mega volcano? Scientists will be successful in solving the problem, but yeah, they're freaking out about it. I have faith in humans. I think humans have solved the most incredible mathematical problems, and I think that they'll be able to solve this. I personally, since I looked at the data, because I was curious, Is it going to be an asteroid or a mega volcano? If you ask me my opinion, just looking at data, I think it's going to be a volcano. I think it's far more likely that we'll be taken out by a volcano than an asteroid. And we've already been taken out by a volcano more than once. So, yeah, I think there's, it's very terrifying. What would we do? Would they issue gas masks in certain cities? We could maybe survive, but with serious this is a very serious threat. Yeah, I can see the concern. All right, so war going on in Ukraine. According to the cards, we're going to solve it. We're going to figure the equation. They're going to figure it out. I think I'm starting to figure out what I think they're going to probably do. They're going to give the volcano another route. So in plain words, part of it forms a crust and then it explodes, right? So I think what they're looking at is finding ways to drill the geothermist. They're finding ways to drill a hole. And so when it blows this way. And then you have less of a massive explosion when you see the core. They're trying to drain. They're drilling and trying to drain so that and if they do that, they might be able to dissipate the pressure. So that's what the geophysicists and geologists are looking at. I don't know. I think it would work. If you remove the pressure from the core, which is what they're looking at, then yes, then it would work. All right, let's take a look at Ukraine. See, that would be an example of quick technique HCRV, where I went in and I observed the situation. I saw it as a scientist, went down into the field, saw them drilling holes underneath that would dissipate the lava to avoid the eruption. That I don't have any scientific training in this area, but as a remote viewer who's trained in HCRV, I can give information to help the geologist, which is what I just gave you. So that's HCRV. Maybe the scientists can use the information, maybe they can't. The war in Ukraine is getting heavy again, Joel. There's a feeling like no one is in charge. Like the people of Russia feel like, no, what is the prime directive? Why are we there again? We're bringing a lot of bodies home. We're starting to lose. We don't understand why we're like a lot of Russians are just don't understand. Here is the waves of war. The Knight of Wands is the war guy, and then you have the Four of Swords. So. Our partnerships, that's what I think Ukraine is thinking. Our partnerships to protect ourselves. There's some confusion here. I think there's some real fear on the part of Ukraine that they don't have. They don't know about the future of their partnerships. There's going to be major military successes within the next 30 days for Ukraine. Research scientists, people looking for ways to win. You know why I think that they're winning? Because Sweden and Finland are joining NATO, and that gives them air protection, and I think that changes the game. So now, what is Putin doing? He hires cheap fighters out of Africa, like the Houthi, right, that attacked in Israel on his birthday. Now it's coming out that he was meeting with Hamas planning this. I guess there were Hamas meeting with Putin in Russia to plan this gruesome attack and then film it all and give it to their loyal czar, right, as entertainment for him. That's what's coming out, right? So, of course it's coming out because he is his strongest ally is Iran. So I think a lot of, diehard Republican pro-Israel people are, if you look at the data as an anthropologist, as a scientist, they're a threat to national security for Israel. They're a security threat because what people like Ben Shapiro are doing is that they're making everybody think that Israelis are like Ben Shapiro. And the truth of the matter is, most of us find him very unpleasant. He doesn't represent us. And he scares me, and he makes people feel worse. He makes regular Palestinians feel like crap about themselves. And well, you need to get your crap together as well. If you would help us, I mean, we're in poverty over here, and could you help us? Nah, it's just that you don't have together. I mean, like, he does everything he can to make things worse. He doesn't do anything to help. He doesn't do anything. I don't know. I'm just blabbering. I just don't think that kind of debate. Yes, I did, Don Daniels, and we're going to use it as it's going to be our book selection for February, I think. So yes, I did, Don. Thank you. We already have our book selections for January selected, and I think Don's book is for February. Thank you so much, Don. I'm very excited to read it, by the way. I feel so bad that I cannot find. Does anybody remember what our book of the month? It's a book of poems. It's so beautiful for Christmas and the holidays. And I was reading it with Chuck, and we got really into it, by the way. And then did I loan it to somebody? Anyway, I apologize. If anybody knows what our book is. Chuck and I will announce it again on Tuesday. There's time to it's our Christmas selection, Christmas, Hanukkah, at the time of lights and miracles, and it was the perfect book. Cannot remember what it was called. All right, let's see if we have more questions here. Fun day today, isn't it, darlings? Yeah, this was a point made by Joel. I mean, I don't think people realize that we agreed to take out massive loans because we thought we would be eligible for government contracts. And then we went and we did this stuff, and then they started reneging. And so it led to a series of lawsuits. At least that's what happened to doctors and people who had teaching. I mean, what they did was they exploited poor people. This is what really happened. What the Republicans did. They exploited poor people. They lied to them to get them to take a bunch of loans, promising the world, then pulled the rug out from under us. And, honor your commitment to the students. We did our time. We served. It's not cool. You serve for 7 years with a hot plate, and then somebody keeps increasing your student loan debt. If you're going to treat your citizens like that, why would your citizens be loyal to you? It shouldn't be the country going after its citizens, right? We should all be helping each other. We need our doctors, right? If doctors cannot, if only rich people get to be doctors, then how is that good for our nation, right? Okay, let's look at the future of Trump. His ranting and raving to the point where we think he could I felt when I put myself into the remote that I was going to get incarcerated, that they were going to haul me off to Bedlam. I'll put on a hazmat suit. Don, you're so funny. He has no choice but to cooperate at this point. If you really want to know the truth, I feel like as embarrassing as it is for him, his attorneys are going to have to speak for him because they have so much evidence against him at this point that if he does not agree to some kind of deal with the feds, he's caught. It always comes up the same. Look at the feds. This is the feds. Ace of Swords and Magician. They're Ace of Swords, victory in court, right? Because the swords have to do with like justice, truth. Look at him over the court. 7 of Wands. He's finished. The courts took him out. The courts took Trump out. He has no power. Look at this. Look at this. And there's more coming. So it just every time they hit him, they keep hitting him harder and harder. How can you run a campaign? No, I'd be very. How are you going to run a campaign like that? So I think I just never get good cards with Trump. I just don't. I mean, it's always saying that it just now they've approved for all the civil case. Now anybody who was a victim of January 7th, including the people that got conned to come out there and wound up in believing him, they now all get to sue. So this guy is going to spend civil suits the rest of his life being sued. You know, I mean, legally, when you look at his situation and the fact that everybody who was a victim of 9/11 can sue him, right? Anybody who was a victim can sue him directly. So how could you possibly get out of that? The winter solstice, the time of the winter solstice, like what is happening at this time of the year? Good question. The sun is coming out. They say it's a time of optimism, prayers. I think that people were under so much stress. You know, some people, when you get so stressed out, you find the answer. Eureka! I found the answer because you're on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I think that that's what's happening right now. Certainly, that's what's happening in Israel. They're getting very close to a solution. They think that they know how to fix this. Meanwhile, they got to keep from getting blown up by Iran, right? But there are people coming in, engineers, people who are smart. They think they found how to fix this, which is very exciting, right? To finally have the formula to end the conflict of Palestine and Israel. They think they have the formula, right? So that's wonderful, but we got to get through this first phase, right? We've got crazy people running around. So you have to dismantle the crazy people. So that's the gruesome thing that's happening now, right? You got to take their shirts off to make sure they're not a suicide bomber that's going to blow up all these innocent Palestinians that said, "Hey, we don't have anything to do with Hamas." And then what's happening now is that these suicide bombers are coming in and blowing up all of the Palestinians. I mean, so what's happening is you have this dismantling happening, this gruesome first phase, right? And then the warring as they attempt to flee. You've got this strong, dominant power, but you have the sun coming out in the winter. So I feel like we could be getting closer to the sun is coming out. Like, we're moving away from a lot of darkness, which is kind of what historically this time of year is. When you look at Hanukkah and Christmas, the lights and spreading the light, and also December 25th, when we think about the coming of the light. And yeah, so it's a time of hope and light and inspiration. And yeah, that's all a good thing. Yeah, I do think things are, this is a very dark period because, psychopaths have run amok. But once good people take control of the situation, I believe we can construct. We have the equation now for fixing it, but unfortunately, we have to get rid of the crazy people first. Okay, let us see. Don Daniels has donated, as has Marie Olga, to the World Food Program. Lovely. As has Anonymous. Thank you. What do I have another question because we've got Jennifer Miller asking about George Santos. You guys want to talk a little bit about that? You'd rather not? I guess my first question to you guys, to my brunch friends, do you think he's going to make further problems for the Republican Party? And if so, you guys want to talk about it? What do you think? I want to know what you think. If you were him, right? So, if you were George Santos and you got kicked out and your Republican colleagues did this to you, and theoretically you're claiming that you've got all this information about corruption, etc., do you think there's any truth to what he's saying? I'd be curious what people think about that. Let's take a look. I honestly don't know what it's going to say. Things are happening very quickly for George Santos. His career is over and the feds have control over him. So he has no control over anything. In fact, quite the opposite. There's a lot he cannot legally talk about, and he has the FBI all over him. Things are happening very quickly. His career is over. They took the weapons of war against him. The feds are on top of him. So the clarification, he attempted theft. See, it's always the same with these cards, the physics of the cards. He tried to steal. Seven of Swords is a theft card. He's not going to be able to do anything because his rights have been taken away. He doesn't have the ability to do any of the threats he's making. Is, if he's going to go after anybody, it's as a cooperating witness for the feds. Here it is. The courts. His relationship with the FBI. There you go. Ace of Cups, an offer of love. So what do you think that means? It means that he's going to cooperate with the feds, make a deal, and start naming names. But he himself can't do anything. He can't, you're going to give me $1 million or I'm going to go tell the feds everything. That's not happening. But yes, and again, you have to realize, because you've been watching the remote views for the last 5 years, those of you who are old timers like Joel, they had everything before they even arrested Michael Cohen. They already knew that this was going to wind up, that this was this was about corruption in DC. Robert Mueller already knew what the real investigation was, right? Because he told us. He said the real investigation that is not public, the Mueller report is not the real investigation, right? Remember he said that? He said the real investigation is this damn money. Every time we uncover it, we have to hand it over to the New York. We either hand it to the FBI and they start another investigation, or we hand it over to New York because there are all these criminal prosecutions. So the conclusion when we did the mind meld with Robert Mueller and the report we gave you guys was that he said, I will take this to the Capitol steps, and he will begin arresting members of Congress, which I thought was absolutely absurd. I thought, there's no way in hell he's going to take this to the Capitol steps, that these investigations will lead to the Capitol steps. But that is, in fact, what we've been seeing over the last few years, is that several members of Congress have been removed because of this ongoing investigation into corruption. And that was really what he was starting. He was organizing and helping to start it for the feds and for the intelligence agencies. That was the real investigation. Did we see the fruits of that? Well, 5 years later, but why did it take so long? That's the other question that people get frustrated. Why did it take so long? Why did it take so long? And the answer I always get from the remote views when I go into the intelligence is it took so long because we were tracking people to get more information. So instead of arresting people, they were just watching them for 2 years, right? Collecting more information, finding more people who might be criminals. But because they wanted enough evidence and they wanted to take it all down, right? So what did that mean? It meant confiscating mega yachts where private meetings were taking, He did everything he said he was going to do through what he established. What Robert Mueller established through the blueprint and the structure in that early investigation, which again was not public information, was everything we're seeing now with the shutting down of the crypto, the confiscation of the yachts, and the arresting of people out of DC. Yeah. Wow. So thus ends our brunch. Did you guys have fun? Did you enjoy your grits? Did you enjoy your French toast? I certainly hope so. Much gratitude to all of you who support the channel again for the purchasing of merch, the memberships. They really help keep us afloat, help me pay my actor and all of that great stuff. Be sure and share, like, and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. If you'd like to have a reading with me, please be sure and find that information below. If you put in a Wizio request in the last week, those Wizios will come out tonight. I usually do them all at once. All right. Be kind to all so that all can be kind to you too. We'll see you next time. God bless everyone. Bye.